Und ich sage Hallo und ein ganz, ganz herzliches Willkommen zu Telltales Law and Order Legacies. Ja, gut, also es stehen noch 2 Episoden aus, Episode 6 und Episode 7. Heute Abend wird es die Episode 6 geben. Ich werde sie auch komplett spielen, denn heute Abend kommt Law and Order in Spielfilmlänge. Muhaha, das ist für mich schön, weil dann kann ich die Episode jetzt einfach durchspielen und ich fange mal an.
In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by 2 separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Well, you get her on the phone right now and tell her she's got to go through with it. I moved my schedule all around to accommodate this lunch, and I'm not about to... Yes, I know what time it is. If her beauty sleep gets interrupted, tough. Hold on, I've got another call. Trisha Vanderhook speaking.
Mom, you gotta help me.
Tag? Where are you?
At school, I've been shot, and oh god, stay back.
Is this another one of your tricks? I told you you're not getting another dime out of me, sonny boy.
What do you want from me? I'm sorry, okay? It wasn't personal.
Tag, can you hear me? Say something.
What's the nature of your emergency?
It's my son. Let me through, damn it! I'm his mother. Oh!
Friendly tip, Ray. If you ever decide to get murdered, don't call your mom first. See if you can calm her down, Martinez, okay? Get her some water or something. We're gonna need to question her once we're done here. So, what do we know about the workout king?
Tag Vanderhook, 18 years old, set to graduate from this school next month.
Nice scar on his face. Any other distinguishing marks?
Yeah, 2 bullet holes. First one passed through him here in the side and took him down. Second one got him in the heart.
That'll do it. Well, I guess we're looking for evidence of motive, traces of the killer.
Anything that'll give us information about the crime.
Ja Mensch, okay, gut, dann starte ich mal gleich hier los mit der Untersuchung des Tatorts. Schon wieder ein totes Kind. Was ist eigentlich los hier? Gut, okay. Wählen Sie die Lupe aus, das kenne ich schon. So, was suche ich denn? Ballistik-Hinweise, Hinweise auf den Todeszeitpunkt, Hinweise auf die Zutrittsmethode, Hinweise auf das Motiv und Beziehung der Familie zur Schule. Da werde ich sicherlich zwischendrin noch gucken müssen, aber ich gucke jetzt erstmal, ich fange mal hier an und schau mal. Ja, okay, aber hier ist, ja, das ist mit Code, ne? Das ist natürlich schon merkwürdig. Hier ist,
Here,
wunderbar, die
first
Kugel.
bullet, one that got him in the side.
Then a shooter must have been standing about here.
It's a long way from the door. This wasn't some drive-by. Our killer got pretty close to the victim before letting him have it.
A little exchange of pleasantries before getting down to business.
Gut, die sind immer so makaber, oder? Also ich weiß auch nicht. Ich würde jetzt gerne... Ach, ich kann hier noch weiter gucken. Guck mal an. So, was habe ich hier denn? Ach, da ist eine Tasche. Kann ich da reingucken? Schade. Ich wollte hier in die Vitrine schauen. Guck mal, da ist ja irgendwas. Da fehlt was. Also das ist ja merkwürdig. Ich guck mal.
Look, trophy case has been smashed.
Ja, und da fehlt auch eine Trophäe.
Track and Field Awards. There's a medal missing from the display.
Whoever snatched it wasn't too careful. Part of the ribbon's still attached.
Kid got killed over a track medal?
Ha. So, was suche ich sonst noch? Zugriff, das ist doch der Türgriff wahrscheinlich, ne? Guck mal, das sieht so aus, als ob hier das hier gemeint ist.
The door's spring-loaded, and it's got a keypad lock. Whoever shot our Vic must have had the code to get in.
Ja.
Or the kid opened the door for his killer.
So, dann suche ich noch Beziehung der Familie zur Schule und ein Hinweis auf den Todeszeitpunkt. Mal, da vorne hing so ein Bild. Zack, zack, zack. Hier.
This gymnasium was presented, blah, 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 generous donation from the Vanderhook family.
Vanderhook? That's our victim's name.
Somebody didn't appreciate the generous donation.
Warum muss ich jetzt gleich an die Prescotts denken, weißt du? Also das Life is Strange hat mich schon sehr geprägt. So, jetzt muss ich mal gucken, was ist denn hier? Jetzt brauche ich noch was wegen der Uhrzeit. Jetzt gucke ich, ob da irgendwie... Also, Uhrzeit lässt sich ja vermutlich herausfinden, wenn der eine Uhr hatte. Aber ich kann hier gar nicht weiter rübergehen. Kann ich das hier mal hochheben?
Looks like our Vic grabbed this to staunch the bleeding.
Before the second bullet finished him off.
Ah, hier ist das Handy. Dann kann man gucken, wann der
That the
Anruf
phone
war.
that Vic used to call his mom?
Probably. So last call was made at 6:05. Lasted 28 seconds.
And ended with a bang.
Also, der ist aber auch immer
And he
echt
should be able
makaber.
to tell us if... Hey, what's this?
Where?
In the kid's mouth, it looks like... Wait a minute. Check it out.
A medal?
From the trophy case.
Ja, prima. Das ist doch gut. Das ist doch perfekt. Also, das mache ich gleich weiter hier.
Mrs. Vanderhook, we know you've been through quite a shock, but we're hoping you can answer a few questions.
We're very sorry for your loss.
I don't want sympathy. I want justice.
Of course.
Na, dann frage ich erstmal zur Medaille. Was anderes bleibt mir ja nicht übrig.
This may be painful for you to hear, Mrs. Vanderhook. We found this medal in your son's mouth. Does it tell you anything?
Yes, somebody didn't like my son. Tag has a talent for making enemies. He and New Amsterdam prep are like oil and water. Last month he was thrown off the wrestling team. Last year he was badly injured in a fistfight.
Stimmt das mit den Beweisen überein? Ja, weil ich glaube, das ist die Narbe, ne? Gewesen. Genau, die Narbe im Gesicht, ja. Ah. Gute Arbeit, yay!
Would that be how he got the scar?
I'm afraid so. Spoiled that handsome face, but what did he care? Tag had what one might euphemistically call an assertive personality. Came with the territory, him being a Vanderhook.
Aha, warum? Was hat das damit zu tun?
Should I recognize the name Vanderhook?
Only if you're ambitious, detective. We prefer to stay out of the limelight. But think of the names you do know in this town. None of them would have succeeded without the Vanderhook blessing. Take New Amsterdam Prep. We Vanderhooks had everything to do with building its reputation and keeping it afloat. Just last summer I gave the school a new gym.
Ja, das stimmt. Das habe ich ja auf dem Dings gelesen. Tag schrie raus aus meiner Sporthalle. Die Kostenabrechnung Vanderhook Gedenktafel war im Kraftraum. Genau.
This gym?
Yes, detectives. The very gym in which my son was killed. The irony is not lost on me.
Der letzte Anruf. Was wollte Tech hier? Das Wohlwollen. Ich frage mal nach dem letzten Anruf.
What did your son say to you when he called? Did he give you any indication of the killer's identity?
He tried, but I didn't give him the chance. You see, I thought it was all just a trick to get me to cough up money.
Think. Did he say anything at all that can help us?
He said he was sorry.
To you?
No, to the killer. He said it wasn't personal.
Ja, das stimmt. Tech hat dem Mörder ein Leid. Tech hatte nicht die Absicht, das Motiv. Tech hat gelogen. Ach so, was können wir ableiten? Ich wollte gerade sagen, das hat doch damit... Hä? Was können wir ableiten? Das Motiv war wohl Rache oder er hat Tech hat dem Mörder ein Leid zugefügt. Tech hatte nicht die Absicht, den Mörder zu kränken. Das Motiv war Rache. Tut uns leid, das war nichts. Na gut. Aber, naja, macht ja nichts. So, dann frage ich mal...
I know boys his age sometimes tend to keep their problems bottled up. Did Tag and you communicate?
Yes, Detective. We had a model relationship. He told me everything and I denied him nothing.
Ja, stimmt das mit den Beweisen überein? Ich guck mal, na das ist ja... Da habe ich doch nichts gefunden, oder? Aber ich denke schon, sonst hätte er seine Mama ja nicht angerufen, oder? Also, Abschluss, hübsche Narbe, bla bla bla, die Medaille, sie wusste, woher die Narbe kam. Ich sag ja. Ach, das ist auch falsch. Ich hab's doch wieder drauf heute.
Pardon me for bringing this up, but if that was the case, why would he resort to tricks to get you
Ach
to
so,
cough
na,
up
das
money?
ist doch normal, oder?
Excuse me?
Didn't you say you jumped to that conclusion when he called you?
This is how you work, is it? Seizing on every little contradiction and throwing it back in a person's face? Must be exhausting. As a matter of fact, our relationship did hit a rocky patch last month. April Fool's Day, to be exact. We had a rather nasty fight.
Also ich weiß auch nicht, ich finde das auch nicht so schlimm, wenn Kinder da mit Tricks versuchen, da Geld aus Rippen zu leiern. Das, finde ich, sagt nicht viel über das Verhältnis aus. Aber na gut.
You're saying everybody who makes it in New York has to get the Vanderhook blessing. Say, you wouldn't have anything to do with putting Donald Trump back in the headlines, would you?
I'm in no mood for small talk, Detective.
Of course. Sorry.
Ja, Entschuldigung. Jetzt nehme ich natürlich die falschen Fährten noch mit. Was wollte Tech hier? Trainieren
Do
wahrscheinlich.
you know why Tag came here today?
To work out.
Before school hours. How'd he get in?
All the students have keys to the main entrance. It's part of the school's philosophy. To show we trust them.
But the weight room was locked. Takes a key code to get in.
Yes, that room is for the athletes only. He had access through his membership on the wrestling team.
Nein, das passt nicht zusammen, weil er war ja nicht mehr in dem Team. Sie hat ausgesagt, dass er auch da rausgeworfen wurde.
Didn't you say he got kicked off the wrestling team?
So he was breaking the rules. That's why he came to work out before school hours. Are you going to put him on report?
So.
What did you fight about, if you don't mind my asking?
But I do mind your asking.
Listen, Mrs. Vanderhook, we're just trying to find your son's killer here.
Then I suggest you start doing that and stop prying into irrelevant personal issues. My son was a good boy, detectives, with a life of promise ahead of him. Now he's dead. That's all that's important.
Na gut, also das ging ja einigermaßen. Da kann ich, glaube ich, einfach fortsetzen drücken.
I just don't understand how something like this could happen here at New Amsterdam Prep. We try so hard to model peaceful methods of conflict resolution.
A good example is the best sermon.
Benjamin Franklin. It's been my motto as headmistress.
Na, dann frage ich doch mal. Vielleicht hat sie ja eine Vermutung.
Mrs. Boersma, do you have any idea who the murderer might be?
None. Tag was such a popular kid.
Nee, also überhaupt nicht. Wurde Tag letztes Mal? Nein, Benjamin Franklin sagte niemals, was hat das damit zu tun? Das ist ja geil. Zufolge ist der Mord überraschend oft auftreten. Da. Das letzte bitte. Der neigt dazu, Leute zu verärgern.
Mrs. Vanderhook told us he got in a lot of fights.
Yes, well, he was high-spirited, I suppose, but we all loved him. He was loaded with life.
Loaded is the word.
Dann frage ich mal zum Türschloss.
The weight room door has a keypad lock.
Yes, that's a recent change. Some students were complaining that certain athletes were monopolizing the equipment. The lock allows us to monitor who uses the facility and when. We issue a different code for each sports team, one for football, one for lacrosse, and so forth.
Das klingt auf alle Fälle interessant, aber sie hat ja, also die andere hat erzählt, dass das nur die Ringermannschaft ist. Einige Schüler haben sich beschwert, dass bestimmte Sportler die Geräte komplett in Beschlag nehmen. Das Schloss ermöglicht uns festzustellen, Und das ist, das klingt auf alle Fälle ganz interessant, weil dann könnte man gucken, wer da rein und rausgegangen ist. So, aber arbeiten sie also, Widerspruch haben sie gegenüber an die Ohren. Nee, das war's nicht. Wo ist das denn gewesen mit dem Code? Warte. Da war das irgendwo. Da, wie ist der? Alle Schüler haben einen Schlüssel für das gehört zur Philosophie, aber der Kraftraum war verschlossen. Ja, dieser Raum ist nur für die Sportler. Als Mitglied der Ringermannschaft hatte er zu. Ach so, ja, na, das eine schließt ja das andere nicht aus. Musste ich ja mal gucken. Also, Mrs. Werner kam zufolge, hatte Tech Zutritt, weil er in der Ringermannschaft war. Stundenplan, war überrascht, dass Tech, da er nie in einer Mannschaft war. Das erste.
Can you tell us who entered this morning?
Certainly. I just have to check the record. That's odd.
What?
There were 2 codes entered this morning. I recognize the second one. That's the code for the golf team. But the one that was entered at 5:40, that doesn't match any of the codes we issued.
Administrative code, maybe?
No, I've never seen it before. 01010.
Aha. Dann würde ich... Ja, wann ist denn der eingegeben worden?
You said the first code was entered at 5:40. What time was the second code entered?
6:08.
Geschah dies vor dem Mord. So, jetzt war hier die Uhrzeit hatte ich ja. Warte mal. Lassen Sie mich rein, ich bin seine Mutter. Da war das. Warte. Es geht um meinen Sohn. Ach so, nee, das ist das. Wo... habe ich als letztes gefunden. Da, der letzte Anruf war um 6:05 Uhr. Dauerte 28 Sekunden. Das heißt, das war nach dem... Nein. Das war nachher. Der Mörder hat den... Der Tech gab den rätselhaften... Tech hat den... Der Mörder hat den Golfcode eingegeben. Ja, nicht unbedingt. Tech gab den rätselhaften Code ein. Das ja schon mal nicht. Tech hat den Golfcode nicht eingegeben. Ich würde... Ach so. Tech hatte ja aber den... Na, das ist ja merkwürdig. Also, wenn ich jetzt mal überlege. Es ist ja um 6:05 Uhr und um 6:05 Uhr und 28 Sekunden ist er erschossen worden. Das heißt, er hat den rätselhaften Code schon mal nicht eingegeben. Das ist ja nicht richtig. Dann ist der Golfcode eingegeben worden um 5:40 Uhr. Das bedeutet, das wird der Mörder gewesen sein. Aber, weil Tech hatte nur den Ringer-Team-Code, ne? Also der hatte ja den Golfcode wahrscheinlich nicht. Ich nehme 1. Oh, dann doch nicht. Okay.
6:08? That's after the murder.
The killer went out and came back in?
Maybe the metal in the mouth stunt was an afterthought.
Ja, ach so, na wer soll denn, weißt du, das ließ sich ja nun aber wirklich nicht ableiten. Kann ja auch sein, dass jemand reingekommen ist, den Leiche da gesehen hat und das Weite gesucht hat, oder? Also,
What can you tell us about this medal?
State cross-country champion 1997. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I can rattle off academic records from memory, but sports records, that's another story. Is Coach Harvey in? Well, when he gets back, have him give me a call. I've got a question for him. Coach Harvey? Yes, I know, just ghastly. Tell me something. The first place state medal for cross country from 97. Yes. Can you tell me who... Harris, of course. No, that's all, thank you. The student who won that medal is dead. His name was Harrison Bedford.
Nee. Woher soll ich den denn kennen? Okay.
Harrison Bedford, the preppy jogger.
That's right, he was a student here.
Ach,
May
das
17th,
ist der...
1998. almost
Ja, das
exactly a
hängt
year
mit
ago.
diesem anderen Fall
You
zusammen.
followed the case?
Okay.
We conducted the
Ich bin
case,
so
please,
verwirrt.
you
Okay.
don't have to remind us we blew it.
I'm sure you tried your best. Such a tragic loss.
Could the two murders be related? Were Harrison and Tag enemies?
Well, not to my knowledge. We encourage our students to rise above petty feuds. Semper et infirmi est animi exeguique voluptus ultio.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Das ist, wenn man dann eine längere Spielpause zwischen hat. Ich habe diesen Joggerfall tatsächlich einfach echt vergessen und den Namen hätte ich mir im Leben nicht gemerkt. Na, das ist natürlich...
Harrison Bedford had a brother in middle school, didn't he?
Not anymore. Franklin's here at New Amsterdam this year. He's a freshman.
What about the girlfriend? What's her name?
Haben wir Harrisons Freundin kennengelernt? Weiß ich doch nicht. Ich sag ja. Haben wir die kennengelernt? Ach du Scheiße, was weiß denn ich? Ene mene Mist, es rappelt in der Kiste. Ah, gut geraten. Na, immerhin, ne, Chaka.
Allison Conway.
Yes, she's a senior, transferred here at the start of the school year, sponsored by Mr. Bedford.
Are both kids in school today?
Well, they should be. Yes. Oh, I remember seeing Allison's Mercedes in the lot when I arrived.
We'll need to talk to them.
But they're in class. I hate to disrupt the students' education.
It's our education I'm thinking about right now.
Naja, gut, so schlimm ist es ja nicht gewesen. Es hätte besser sein können, aber naja.
So, Allison Conway goes to prep school now.
Mr. Bedford is a generous fellow.
Probably helps that Allison gave birth to his grandson.
Here's one case where being a teenage mother moves you up the social scale.
Detective Briscoe, Detective Curtis.
Nice to see you, too.
I guess this is about Tag Vanderhook?
News travels fast.
We'd like to ask you a few questions.
You know, there's another murder that's still unsolved.
Right. We're investigating whether there might be a connection.
Ich frag erstmal zu Tech.
Did you know the victim?
Tag? Sure. I mean, a little. This is a small school. It's hard not to know everybody a little. And Tag wasn't the type to blend into the woodwork.
How long have you known him?
Since September, I guess.
Ach du liebe Güte, wann ist sie da in die Schule gekommen? Bam. Sie ist zum Anfang des Schuljahres hierher gewechselt. Ja, dann passt's. Die Schulleiterin zufolge sind während der Einführungswoche, sie waren beide, die Schulleiterin des Allison, zu Beginn des Schuljahres gewechselt. Genau.
What do you think of him?
Everyone kowtowed to Tag because of his mom's money. He liked to brag about his conquests in class, and the teachers were too spineless to shut him up. I kept my distance.
So you weren't one of his conquests?
God, no. As if.
Okay. Ich frag mal zur Medaille.
Something peculiar about this murder.
Tag had a medal shoved in his mouth. Harrison's medal, right?
How
Woher
do
weißt
these
du
things
das
get
denn?
out?
Ja.
It's a high school detective. So, who do you think put it in there? Harrison's ghost?
Would he have reason to? Did he have something against Tag?
When me and Harrison were together, we didn't waste time talking about Tad Vanderhook, okay? But he did stick up for me once when Tag was a real ass.
Also, haben wir die Zeit nicht damit verschwendet, über Tag Vanderhook zu reden, okay? Aber einmal hat er mich verteidigt, als Tag ein richtiger Arsch war. Sie sagte doch, sie kannte ihn nur ein bisschen. Sie behauptete, dass sie habe Tag das erste Mal im September getroffen und Harrison wurde im Frühjahr getötet. Also kannte sie ihn ja vorher.
I thought you first met Tag this past September.
Yeah, not counting that house party last spring.
Tell us about that house party.
Harrison wanted to introduce me to his prep school friends. Tag wasn't invited, but he showed up anyway. About midnight. He got in my face and called me Harrison's little Brooklyn bitch. Harrison got him in a headlock and made him apologize. totally humiliated him. It was awesome.
And that was the end of it? Tag ran off with his tail between his legs?
I don't really remember how it ended, to be honest. I was pretty wasted at the time. I passed out not too long afterwards.
Na, ob sie das war, aber dass sie vielleicht vermutet, dass der Tag ihren Harry oder wie der da heißt, umgebracht hat. Ich frag mal nach.
Where were you at 6 o'clock this morning?
6 o'clock? I was at home.
Home is still in Brooklyn?
No, I live with the Bedfords now, ever since Brendan was born. I thought you knew that.
Memory's the first thing to go.
Can anyone confirm your whereabouts?
Sure, the whole household was up at 6. Brendan was throwing one of his famous tantrums. He's got a scream that could shatter glass.
Ja. Also wenn da alle da gewesen sind. Das spart Zeit, es kann bestätigt werden. Na, also wenn da so viele Leute gewesen sind, dann,
I tried to sneak canned baby food onto his plate and he caught on. So I have to go down to the kitchen and mix him up a fresh batch in the blender.
Kid's got discriminating tastes.
He's a Bedford.
na, die Babynahrung interessiert mich eigentlich nicht
Franklin
so.
Bedford's supposed to be in gym right now, but we didn't see him on the basketball court.
He's off with the golf team at the Chelsea Piers driving range. They've got a big tournament coming up and the coach has them all practicing their swings.
Aha.
What? Check with Mr. Tate if you don't believe me.
Naja, ich glaub dir schon. Ja, wegen dem Golfcode könnte der haben, für die Golfspieler. Eingegebener Code, genau. Text. Immer mit einem 7er Eisen, ist ja geil, okay. Es liegt am Code.
Golf on a day like this. It's been pouring all morning.
The driving range is covered now.
Must have happened after they revoked your membership.
Dann...
You live in the same house as Franklin. Was he there at 6?
Sure, I assume.
You didn't see him?
No, I mean, he would have still been asleep at that hour.
Nein, weil das Baby das Haus zusammengeschrien hat. Das hört man ja, also. Genau das. Schulleiterin erwähnte, Franklin, nein, das. So ein schreiendes Baby kann schon alle wach kriegen. Da braucht man
You
so schon
told
einen
us
richtigen
nobody could
Schlaflo.
sleep on account of your baby.
Nobody except Franklin, I meant. That kid could sleep through anything.
Did you actually see Franklin this morning?
No.
Aha, aha, aha.
Tag insults you. Harrison attacks Tag. And later, Harrison is dead. I guess people must have pointed fingers.
At Tag? Like I said, I hardly knew him. When you guys ruled him out as a suspect, I never gave him another thought.
What about the people who did know him?
I guess a lot of the kids around here kept on thinking he might have been involved.
Did Tag do anything to dispel their suspicions?
Tag was a bully. I think he liked having people think he was a killer, especially the younger kids.
Kids like Franklin.
Thanks, Allison. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Okay. Dann mal weiter. Na, das wird ja interessant. Ja, das könnte natürlich auch der Franklin gewesen sein. Aber jetzt, nach der, also weißt du, nach einiger Zeit ist das ja erst. Das ist natürlich schon ein bisschen
You think our boy
merkwürdig.
Franklin is the killer?
Pieces seem to fit.
So, if he entered the golf team code to get back into the weight room after the murder, who entered the first code?
The mystery code? Well, could have been Tag himself. His weight room privileges were revoked when he got kicked off the wrestling team, but his mom said he was good at getting around the rules.
So then Tag let Franklin in.
Not realizing the kid had a gun and meant business.
It's a good theory. Not enough evidence for an arrest.
Not yet. Come on, let's find some.
Na gut, dann...
Can't you just talk to him when he gets back from the driving range?
We intend to do that, but in the meantime, we need to take a look in his locker.
Oh, you can't do that without a warrant.
No, but you can. New Jersey versus TLO. Back in '85, Supreme Court decided school administrators have the right to search lockers, provided they have just cause for suspicion.
You've done your homework, Detective. I'm impressed. Still, I don't know. Franklin Bedford's always been a well-behaved student.
Ja, ich sag mal, er hatte kein Alibi.
We have reason to believe Franklin had already left home by 6 this morning.
Allison told you that?
Reading between the lines, yeah.
Shouldn't we let him explain before we jump to conclusions?
Oh, okay. Dann den
He's on
Golfcode.
the golf team.
That wasn't a crime last time I checked.
Yeah, but somebody entered the golf team's code to get into the weight room this morning.
There are plenty of students who use that code, detectives. I don't see why suspicion should
Weil er auch
fasten
ein
on
Alibi
Frank.
hatte.
We think Franklin
An
blamed
alibi
Tag for his
motif.
brother's death.
Oh dear. I'm not unaware of the rumors that have been circulating around the school.
Revenge is a powerful motivator, Mrs. Boersma.
I suppose I should open that locker for you.
Ja, vielen Dank.
Here it is, number 224. What exactly are you expecting to find?
We'll know it when we see it. Bingo.
Bingo. Oh. Oh.
See you at lunch, Tyler.
Franklin Bedford, where were you this morning at 6?
Why? What's this about?
Little matter of a murder weapon we found in your locker. Care to explain? Book him.
You are under arrest for the murder of Tag Vanderhook. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to a lawyer.
Na dann, bin ich ja mal gespannt.
No confession yet?
Not a word. They must teach counter-interrogation at that fancy prep school.
Time to turn up the pressure.
Good cop, bad cop?
Mm-hmm. He's only 15. He's not too old to cry. You get him there, then I'll turn on the compassion and bring him home.
Alles
I'm
klar.
sick of waiting for a confession from this punk. We got the weapon, we got the motive. At this point, he's just wasting our time.
Go easy, detective. Come on, Franklin. Come clean. It'll be a lot easier for everybody if you do.
My client maintains he's innocent.
Give me a break.
Tim, ich fange mit dem Alibi an.
We already know you were out of the house before 6. So if you weren't busy drilling holes in Tag Vanderhook, where the hell were you?
My client prefers not to disclose this information this time.
Need a little more time to cook up an alibi? Don't rush on our account. Daddy's not gonna make this one go away, kid. We're staying here till we get the truth.
Erinnern Sie sich an die beste Strategie, Franklin? Ja. Gut. Wie sieht die Strategie aus? Ihn mit Fortgeschrittenen und dann in den Hafen lotsen. Das konnte ich mir gerade so merken, also bitte. Ich bin der gute Bulle.
He killed your brother. At least that's what you thought. You did it in the name of justice. The DA will recommend leniency.
Oh.
You hated Tag, didn't you? Of course you did. Harrison didn't like him a bit,
Ach so,
and
ich
you
kann dann
wanted to
auswählen,
be
wer reden
just
soll. Ich
like
verstehe,
Harrison.
Don't talk about my brother.
Franklin, it's okay.
Ja, weiter, böser Bulle.
Sure, Harrison was your hero. Great athlete, big man on campus, the perfect older brother. But the hero died, and his enemy went on living. It must have burned you up every time you saw Tag's smirking face in the hall. Knowing how he got away with murder.
Shut up. Shut up! You don't know what really happened.
Don't take the bait.
Sie wühlen ihn so richtig auf. Los, einmal noch.
Everybody knew Tag killed your brother, but nobody could touch him. There he was, walking around free, laughing about Harrison, telling everybody what a loser Harrison was.
Lies. It was all lies! He was a damn liar, and so are you. He deserved it. He deserved what he got.
Oh.
Franklin, watch yourself.
Jetzt bin ich dran. Ich bin dran.
Sure. You had every right to be outraged. And you had access to a gun?
My dad's safe. I found the combination.
So you stashed it in your locker, and when the opportunity presented itself...
But I didn't. I wanted to. I admit it. I brought the gun to school, but then everybody started whispering, and I couldn't go through with it. I wasn't the one who shot Tag, I swear!
Then who did?
I don't know.
Close enough to a confession for me.
Ja, aber dann muss ja irgendjemand an seinen Spind gekommen sein, um die Waffe da rauszuholen. Sollte die Waffe denn die Tatwaffe sein? Ich weiß ja nicht, wir haben die ja noch nicht ins Labor geschafft, glaube ich, oder? Also, mal schauen.
Docket number 4258677. People versus Franklin Bedford. Felony murder in the first degree.
How does your client plead, Mr. Vance?
Innocent, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the people request bail in the amount of $500,000.
That's excessive. My client is a juvenile.
So was the victim. Franklin Bedford shot him in cold blood and then returned to desecrate the body. Under the circumstances, $500,000 is warranted.
Last year, I had a young man disappear to Europe after making bail on a drunk driving charge. I'd like to see Franklin stick around. $500,000.
Fine. I'll cut you a check. You bastards aren't gonna take him from me.
Mr. Bedford.
Huh, this is... You can't find Harrison's killer, and now you want to haul Franklin off on trumped-up charges. Well, we're gonna beat you. Don't you worry, son. We're gonna win this thing.
Mr. Bedford,
It's in the
you are
bag.
out of order.
The gun must be ruled inadmissible.
Warum?
The gun is the critical piece of evidence in the case, Your Honor.
Illegal search and seizure. It
Nee,
was
das
obtained
stimmt
without
nicht.
a warrant.
Das braucht auch
The
nicht.
police were within their rights.
Ja. Die Waffe war... Die Schulverwaltung hat die Durchsuchung genehmigt.
New Jersey versus TLO established that school administrators can search students' lockers given reasonable cause for suspicion. The circumstances of the crime naturally threw suspicion on the accused.
And the locker was in fact opened by an administrator.
By the headmistress, yes.
Then I'm dismissing the motion to suppress.
Ho, 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 ho. La 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 la, la 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 la.
Mr. Bedford, is your son capable of murder?
Of course not. Why, Franklin helped to organize the Youth Anti-Violence March in the park last fall.
Ach so, was hat er jetzt gesagt? Ich bin madame verwirrt, ey. Natürlich nicht. Diese ganze Sache ist eine Farce. Franklin hat sogar die Jugenddemo gegen Gewalt mitorganisiert. Nein, möchte ich nicht.
Tag Vanderhook was shot at 6 a.m. May 6.
At which time Franklin was home.
You can swear to this?
With pleasure. Now, let's be honest. This trial is a farce. My son has been targeted because he's a Bedford. Certain factions in this city want to see us cut down to size.
Na, das hat doch damit nichts zu tun.
Objection.
Provokation, keine Fachkenntnisse, Mutmaßung.
The defendant is speculating about the people's motives. We intend to prove this case on the evidence.
Objection sustained. You're not doing yourself any favors, Mr. Bedford.
Tell us about your interactions with your son on the morning of the 6th.
I woke up about 5:15 to the sound of his golf swing. And that happens every morning in season. He likes to practice in the yard at sunrise. We had breakfast together half an hour later, as usual, and after that I dropped him off at school.
You drove him personally?
Yes, as a matter of fact. Usually he rides with Allison, but she took the bus that day.
Das stimmt
Your
ja
witness,
nicht,
Mr.
oder?
McCoy.
Die hat doch... Also, warte. Das ist jetzt natürlich nicht so toll gelaufen. Hätte ich doch Einspruch erheben müssen bei der ersten Aussage, aber ist egal.
Mr.
Das
Bedford,
reiße ich noch wieder raus.
are you aware that perjury is a federal offense?
I stand by my testimony.
All of it?
Ich werde... Ich werde das Frühstück erwähnen.
You two had breakfast together.
As we do every morning.
Allison Conway said she never saw Franklin that morning.
Well, of course she wouldn't. As a rule, Allison stays in her room with the baby till it's time for her to go to school.
Nein, weil sie war ja unten in der Küche, weil sie ja dem Baby frische Nahrung mixen musste, weil es das Gläschen nicht essen wollte. Ihr Mercedes wurde gesehen. Sie sagte, sie wäre zur Schule gelaufen. Genau, sie musste in die Küche, um Babynahrung zuzubereiten.
Allison told us she had been down to the kitchen that morning.
What can I say? The two of them just missed each other.
Dann frage ich doch mal die Fahrt zur Schule.
You personally drove Franklin to school?
In the Mercedes, yes. Allison was delayed by the baby that morning, as I recall, so she had to catch a bus.
Na, aber das stimmt nicht, weil die Schulleiterin gesagt hat, sie hat den Mercedes stehen sehen, als sie angekommen ist. Da.
Mrs. Boersma, the headmistress, told us that Allison drove the Mercedes to school that morning.
She was mistaken.
Na, dann bleibt ja nur noch das Golftraining.
You testified that Franklin's golf practice woke you up.
Yes, he's very committed to improving his drive. I fully support him in his ambition, but unfortunately, the backyard borders my bedroom.
Nein, weil das Baby doch so eine Randale gemacht hat. Dann wird er davon ja eigentlich wach gewesen sein. Es gibt keine Gärten. Am Morgen des Mordes hat es geregnet, das stimmt. Also das stimmt natürlich, es hat gepisst wie Sau, weil die haben doch gesagt, hier die Driving Range ist seit kurzem überdacht oder so.
Your son must be very committed, considering it was pouring rain on the morning of the murder.
He may have been practicing in the study. I don't recall.
Practicing his drive in the study. I hope you don't have any Tiffany lamps in there.
Ach so, dann bleibt jetzt nur noch die Waffe.
The murder weapon was found in Franklin's locker. Perhaps you can tell the court where it came from.
I have no idea where it came from. Well, it was obviously planted there by the
Aber
murderer.
das ist eine Waffe von euch. Außerdem hat er dasselbe... Ja. Denn der Bengel hat es doch selber gesagt. Mr. Franklin hat zugegeben, die Waffe aus dem Safe seines Vaters genommen zu haben. Es handelt sich um die Waffe von Mr. Bedford. Ja. Ja.
Mr. Bedford, Franklin has already confessed to taking that gun from your safe.
Yes, well, all right, but not to pulling the trigger. I'm telling you, he was framed. Franklin was framed.
Naja.
What's that?
Your Honor, my client has some information to impart privately.
Are you requesting a recess?
I think I'm requesting a continuance.
Aha. Ja, es sieht doch eigentlich ganz gut aus soweit. Jetzt bin ich mal gespannt, was der zu sagen hat. Vielleicht war das auch der Vater, ne? Also, dass der Vater das war und dann die Waffe aber da irgendwie im Schrank erstmal deponiert hat. Oder er wusste, dass sein Sohn die im Schrank deponiert hat, ist dann hingegangen und hat mit dem Mastercode oder... Ich mache jetzt hier mal weiter. Ich bin gespannt.
Yes, Franklin Bedford was here that morning. He signed in at 5:48 and the nurse processed his paperwork at 6:40.
Aha. Ja, auf jeden Fall, weil dann war er zur Zeitpunkt des Mordes ja hier im Krankenhaus oder wo auch immer. Dann war er das ja definitiv nicht. Jemand anders, falls es stimmt, was beweist, dass jemand anders als Franklin hat den mysteriösen Code eingegeben. Jemand anders als Franklin hat Tag Vanderhook erschossen. Jemand anders als Franklin alle der oben genannten Aussagen. Weil dann war er ja definitiv gar nicht da. Dann kann er nichts davon gewesen sein.
Are you sure it was May 5th? This is very important, Dr. Markovich.
Quite sure. Tissue samples arrived at the DNA lab at 10 a.m. on the same day. Results haven't come back yet.
DNA lab? Can you tell me the nature of the test?
Franklin hasn't said?
Nein.
No. Then I'm afraid I have to invoke Dr. Patient
alles
privilege.
klar. Dann. Gut, dann bin ich ja mal gespannt, was der da... Das wird ja immer mysteriöser hier, ne? Merkwürdig.
Okay, out with it.
Huh?
You were willing to risk going to jail rather than admit you were at the clinic on the morning of the murder.
So? The alibi checked out. As far as you're concerned, that's where the matter ends.
The matter ends when my curiosity is satisfied.
Warum bist du zum Arzt gegangen? Warum hast du die Wahrheit verschwiegen? Warum bist du denn überhaupt zum Arzt gegangen hier? Oder warum hast du die Wahrheit verschwiegen? Warum hast du es nicht gesagt? Muss ja was Schlimmes gewesen sein. Was
Why
ist
didn't
los?
you tell the truth?
I was trying to protect Dad. He went through so much with Harrison's death. I didn't want to worry him.
Klingt das nach der Wahrheit? Ich weiß es nicht. Nein. Die Sorgen eines Mannes sind wohl kaum besser. Als Folge kriegt Franklin nur das, was er verdient. Franklin will, dass sein... So.
So to spare him the worry of a medical ordeal, you saddled him with the worry of your murder trial. Doesn't wash.
Also, wieso bist du denn jetzt zum Arzt gegangen? Sag doch mal.
Why did you visit the clinic on May 5th?
They think I might have AIDS.
Nee, da brauchst du keine Gewebeproben. Also, um das zu untersuchen, reicht ja eine Blutabnahme. Der Arzt meinte, Proben ins DNS-Labor geschickt zu haben.
Nice try. Your tissues were sent to a DNA lab. They don't test for AIDS by analyzing your DNA.
All right, it's not AIDS. It's a genetic disease. I don't remember what it's called.
If it's a genetic disease, then your dad's at risk. Let's call him right now.
Wait. I went in for a paternity test. I brought them a tissue sample from Allison's baby to find out if Harrison's really the father.
Okay.
If not Harrison, then who?
Tag.
Okay.
Tag?
I ran into him the Sunday before he died, when I was out pushing Brendan in his stroller. He started talking smack, acted like he was gonna mess with the baby. I told him to get back, and he was like, doesn't a father have rights anymore?
That's it.
Well, you know, it made me start to wonder.
Let me get this straight. Based on one smartass comment from Tag, you made arrangements to get a paternity test, then risked a murder conviction to keep it a secret? You took him that seriously?
Yeah, I took him seriously. Tag wasn't the kind of guy to tell lies for no reason.
Nein. Weil Tex ja immer versucht hat, sich irgendwie zu brüsten und ja, überhaupt, ne? So, Franklin hat Tag bis zu diesem Augenblick noch nie getroffen. Franklin hat bereits ausgesagt, dass Tag ein notorischer Lügner war. Hat er das gemacht? Tag hatte einen Grund zu lügen. Er hasste Franklin. Also entweder das, oder... Ah, dann war es das zweite. Na gut.
You told Detective Briscoe and Curtis that Tag told nothing but lies.
Yeah, but...
And you've been telling nothing but lies in this interview. Is the paternity test a lie as well?
No, look, I didn't believe Tag at first. Like you said, the dude was a liar, and I knew Allison couldn't stand him. But he kept needling me about it, telling me that Harrison knew all about him and Allison, and then, a couple days later, this came in the mail.
Zeig mal her, was ist denn da drauf?
Enjoy the show. Everybody else has. I haven't seen my share of the box office, but that's about to change. Tag.
Don't say anything to my dad, okay? He might take it bad, and Allison, she's part of the family now, her and Brendan. I just don't want to be the one who spoils it.
Alles klar. Dann mal weiter.
Okay, boys and girls, here she is in all her glory. Allison Conway, Harrison Bedford's little Brooklyn bitch. Poor girl can't hold her Jack and Coke.
This must have been shot at that party last spring.
Ah.
That's right. Allison told us she passed out that
Ja,
night.
ja,
And
genau.
there's the evidence. I assume our narrator is Tag.
Miss Allison here is attempting to sleep her way into high society. Literally. Too bad she never learned the rule. You can't rise without the Vanderhook blessing.
I think I know where this is going.
So just to prove what a big-hearted guy I am, I'm gonna give it to her anyway. Watch closely, Harrison, buddy.
And it goes on from there.
Okay.
I can understand why Franklin didn't want this to get out. Allison is like a sister to him.
But what does this do for our case? If Franklin didn't do it...
Then somebody framed him. Someone who had access to the weight room and Franklin's locker.
Could be Allison herself, if she knows about the video.
I think we need to have another talk with her.
Oh,
Should
man.
we tell her everything up front?
We got no choice. Paternity of her child is in question. If she doesn't know that, she needs to.
Come on, Ray, she's just a kid. Her world has already been blown apart once. Last thing she needs right now is news like this. Why not wait until the test results are in? If Harrison's the father, she never needs to learn about the video.
Ja, das finde ich auch. Allison davon erzählen, nein.
Is this about Tag's murder? I've told you everything I know.
We need you to think back further, to last year, just before Harrison was killed. but after that party where you first met Tag.
Did you notice anything different about Harrison after that? Something to do with his attitude towards Tag?
If there's something you haven't told us, for whatever reason.
You must be talking about the attack.
What attack?
Somebody ambushed Tag, split his face wide open.
Ich muss mal gucken, das ging jetzt so schnell durch. Jemand hat Tag angegriffen, ein paar Tage nach der Party. Hat ihm eine klaffende... Nein, weil ich ja eigentlich davon ausging, dass die Narbe vom Gesicht vom Ringer-Team... Ah, doch? Okay, alles klar.
They never told us who did it, but the rumor was it was Harrison. I didn't know whether to believe it. I mean, I knew he was pissed at Tag for insulting me, but he wasn't the type to go postal like that.
Ich kann hier gar nicht... Okay.
When you say they never told you who attacked Tag, what do you mean? Who's they?
Mrs. Boersma and the secretaries. They heard the screams and ran out into the hall.
Wait, you're saying the fight happened at New Amsterdam?
Franklin sagte, dass die Schlägerei auf der Straße... Allison meinte, dass die Schlägerei auf der Party stattfand. Also ja, das stimmt. Die Aussage, das wusste sie nichts von einem Zwist. Ach du Scheiße, war das in den Sommerferien? Nein, ich sag hier... Ach, dann war das... Ach Mann, ey.
If it's true, why didn't Mrs. Boersma say anything?
Beats me. I wasn't there. I'm just telling you what the other kids have told me. Supposedly, Mrs. Boersma hauled Harrison into her office, but it's not like he got expelled or anything. And then, a week after that, he was dead.
Das sind so viele Informationen, das kann ich mir immer alles gar nicht merken und ich habe dann immer keine Lust darum, alles durchzulesen, ne? Also, okay. So.
Why did nobody tell us this when we were investigating Harrison's murder? If what you're saying is true, then Tag had a motive.
Tag was already gone when Harrison was killed.
Gone? Gone where?
His mom pulled him out of school and sent him off to California to recuperate. They say she was furious with New Amsterdam. Swore that the Vanderhooks were done with it.
Oh Gott. Ich habe keine Ahnung. Seine Mama hat ihn von der Schule genommen und zur Erholung nach Kalifornien. Wann war denn das? Oh Gott, ey, das müsste man sich eigentlich aufschreiben. Jetzt müsste ich das ja... das müsste, sonst musst du so viel Zeug da nachlesen. Normalerweise müsstest du wirklich so einen Zettel und einen Stift neben dran legen und alle wichtigen Sachen aufschreiben, oder? Na gut. War Tag während des letzten Frühjahrs in Europa. Tag hat Harrisons Leiche entdeckt. Mrs. Vanderhook hat die Schule im Sommer mit einer großzügigen Spende da zukommen lassen. Genau. Die Turnhalle. Ja.
But then she turned around and donated a gym to the school that summer.
And Tag was back in the fall, like nothing was wrong.
Something's wrong with this picture. Thanks for being forthcoming, Allison.
Sorry I didn't say anything before. I guess I didn't want you to think bad about Harrison. He was a gentleman.
I'm sure he was.
Naja gut, das war jetzt nicht so toll, aber reicht, ne?
Furious at New Amsterdam? Of course I was furious. My son was savagely beaten in their halls. His face had to be sewn back together.
And yet you made a huge bequest just 3 weeks later. It doesn't square up. Why the change of heart?
Tag convinced me to do it. Despite what had happened, he was devoted to the school. He told me it was the one place in all the world where he felt truly accepted.
Na, das glaube ich nun wirklich nicht. Der hat sich da mit allen Lehrern angelegt und weiß ich was nicht. Seien wie Öl und Wasser gewesen. Allison sagte, dass der die Schule... So, also das kann ja nicht sein.
You told the police that Tag and New Amsterdam were like oil and water.
Did I? How odd.
It's time you told us the truth, Mrs. Vanderhook.
Die sieht nicht so aus, als
You're
wollte
good.
sie das, okay?
I like you. Yes, if you must know, the bequest was extorted from me. My reputation is the basis of my fortune, Miss Carmichael. Unfortunately, that makes me uniquely vulnerable to scandal. Somebody saw an opening and seized it. I would have been more forthcoming if I thought this had anything to do with my son's murder.
But Tag did figure in this scheme, didn't he?
We've seen the video. You have? That's not exactly the sort of thing that makes a mother proud. But then making mother proud was never very high on Tag's to-do list.
Wer hat sie erpresst? Was wusste Tag? Wer hat sie erpresst?
What we want to know is, who else knew about it? Who was extorting you?
But surely you've already guessed. Our beloved headmistress,
Was?
Karen Boersma. Though how she got a hold of the video, I'll never know.
Was? Ich bin ja, weißt du, ich bin ja verwirrt wie immer. Von wem hatte die denn das Video? Na, wahrscheinlich ja dann von Harrison. Sie war, Baba. So. Also das wäre ja auch blöd. Warum sollte Tag ihr das Video geben?
She hauled Harrison into her office right after the fight. She must have forced it out of him then. It would explain why she didn't expel him.
However she got it, she understood immediately what it could do to my reputation. The son of Trisha Vanderhook? Forcing himself on some inebriated little tramp? On camera yet? The press would fight to get their claws on the footage. The price was steep, but it wasn't too much to pay for a guarantee that the video wouldn't get out. So I paid up, and that was the end of it.
Aha, anscheinend ja, aber nicht so ganz, ne?
Mrs. Boersma guaranteed that the video wouldn't get out? How could you be confident she wouldn't turn around and extort more money out of you next year?
I made sure she couldn't do that. In exchange for my generous donation, she gave me an insurance packet.
Meaning?
A handwritten statement of what she'd done, signed and dated. If the video gets out, so does her confession. Mutually assured destruction. Always good for keeping hostile superpowers quiet.
Do you still have this statement?
Yes, and I intend to hold on to it. Unless you can prove this has something to do with Tag's murder.
Did Tag know you were being blackmailed on account of him?
No. As far as he knew, there were only 2 people in the world who knew about his little excursion into filmmaking, and one of them was dead.
Oh, okay.
Tag bragged to Franklin Bedford that the video was a box office hit.
Ach so,
Did he?
ja, das stimmt, das stand auf
How
dem Zettel,
tacky.
ne? Ja.
He knew somebody was making money off it.
Yes, I suppose I did let the secret slip out.
Alles klar. Na dann,
When did you tell Tag about your arrangement with Mrs. Boersma?
April Fool's Day.
Ah, da haben die beiden sich wahrscheinlich... Deswegen haben die beiden sich da so extrem gestritten. Ich verstehe. Genau. So, da haben die nämlich doch den riesen Zoff gehabt und seitdem kommen die ja nicht mehr so
He'd
ganz
gone and
miteinander
wrecked his
klar.
Maserati again, and he was expecting, no, demanding I should get it fixed for him. For once I put my foot down. Well, he flew into a childish rage, called me a cheapskate, started screaming about how I never did anything for him. So, I let him know exactly what his shenanigans had cost me. It
Ach so,
shut him
naja,
up.
gut. Ja, da verstehe ich, dass sie da so ausgeflippt ist. Also, wenn der seinen Maserati auch schon wieder kaputt macht, ne? Mann.
Tag made a comment about the video, that he was planning to get his share of the box office. Do you have any idea what he meant by that?
A few days before he died, Tag informed me that he no longer needed my money. He said he'd found another way to pay for the Maserati.
Did he say what that was?
I asked, but all he would say was, "A good example is the best sermon."
Ja, im Büro der Rektorin. Da.
Extortion seems to be going around this season.
Ja, sehr schön. Okay.
I think we found your son's murderer.
Franklin Bedford
was framed.
Franklin Bedford wurde verleumdet. Ja. Ja. Die Rektorin, ne? Wer hatte die Mittel, das Motiv und die Möglichkeit, Tag umzubringen? Das kann ja eigentlich nur die Schulleiterin gewesen sein. Die hat irgendwie da bestimmt so einen Supercode, um da reinzukommen. Die hat die Möglichkeit, den Spind aufzumachen. Und sie hatte auch das Motiv, einfach damit sie nicht erpresst wird von Tag.
By Mrs. Boersma. She put that metal in his mouth, and she planted the gun in his locker.
But why? That little matter between her and me was resolved to our mutual satisfaction.
But not to Tag's satisfaction. He saw how his headmistress had profited off his video, and he figured turnabout was fair play. After all, you're not the only one who can be severely damaged by a scandal. Probably never realized how far she might go to avoid one.
Tag? Extort Karen Boersma? He might be reckless enough to try it, I'll grant you, but it would have been his word against hers. He had nothing to hold against her unless...
Ah, der hatte das...
Excuse me a minute, would you?
Okay, das dachte ich mir schon, dass
The
der das
insurance
gefunden
policy
hat.
is gone. Karen Boersma's signed confession. It's missing from the safe.
Did you make a copy of it?
No. He's the only one who could have taken it. But could he really be reckless enough to... Look who I'm talking about. Of course he could.
We can bring her to justice without it, if you'll agree to testify.
No, absolutely not. As I've explained to you, I can't afford scandal.
But what about Tag?
If trashing my reputation could bring him back, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But it wouldn't. Tag's dead, but the Vanderhook name still lives. Its power is based on perception.
Mine is based on truth, and if you won't help me expose the truth about who killed Tag, I'll find someone who can.
Alles klar, jetzt wäre ja das Geständnis wäre so ganz cool, glaube ich. Wenn man das finden würde, mal schauen.
Could I speak to Mrs. Boersma, please? This is Franklin Bedford. I feel kind of funny about this. I mean, she's my headmistress.
And she framed you for murder. Do you want to see her get away with it?
No way. But I don't know what to say to her.
You don't want to get her mad or scared, but you do want to let her know you're onto her game, and you want a piece of the action. Play it exactly the way Tag would have played it.
We'll cue you along. You'll be fine.
Okay, oh Gott, na, sowas kann ich doch immer
How nice of
nicht.
you to call. I was so relieved when they dropped the charges against you. Of course, I never stopped believing in your innocence.
Thanks.
I'm sorry that the board voted to drop you from the class roster. Purely a business decision, you understand. I assume that's why you're calling. You want me to reinstate you.
Was war Frank? Ja, ich will wieder aufgenommen werden. Nein, ich will gerechnet. Nein, ich will Geld. Ja, ich will wieder aufgenommen werden.
Say yes.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I'm afraid, well, the board has a point in that with all the publicity surrounding your case, reinstating you now would be too disruptive. Perhaps we can arrange for you to continue your lessons at home until the scandal subsides.
Tell her there's another scandal she should be worried about.
There's another scandal you should be worried about.
What's that?
Ha, genau richtig gemacht. Ich weiß, wie sie in die Sporthalle... Ich weiß, dass sie Tag getötet haben. Ich weiß über Tags Video Bescheid.
Tell her you know about the video.
I know about the video. The one that Tag made.
I don't know what you're talking about. And I certainly don't know why it should concern me.
Ah, schade, okay.
Now, I'm quite busy, as you can imagine, so I'm afraid I must cut our little conversation short. Take care, Franklin.
Ach, scheiße.
I think we pushed it too hard.
Okay. Ja, dann starte ich das nochmal neu.
New Amsterdam Preparatory Academy.
Could I speak to Mrs. Boersma, please? This is Franklin Bedford. I feel kind of funny about this.
Kann ich das
I
hier
mean,
nicht...
she's my
Ich kann das
headmistress.
immer nicht überspringen,
And she
ne? Das ist ein
framed you
bisschen
for...
blöd.
No way.
Ach, doch jetzt.
But I...
You don't want to get her mad.
We'll cue you along.
Franklin, how
thanks.
I'm sorry
Ja,
that the board
ja, ja. Also...
Say yes.
Yeah,
I'm afraid...
Tell her
there's another scandal.
What's that?
So, okay. Ich weiß, wie sie in die Sporthalle gekommen sind. Ich weiß, wie sie in die Sporthalle gekommen sind.
Tell her you know where the new gym came from.
Ja, ach, woher?
I know where the new
Okay,
gym
ja.
came from.
Of course, everybody does. It was a very generous gift from Trisha Vanderhook.
Haha, aber das war richtig. Ich habe gehört, dass Sie es durch Erpressung erreicht haben. Ich habe Ihr Geständnis. Ich habe eine Fotokopie Ihres Geständnisses. Ich habe gehört, dass Sie es durch... Ich habe Ihr Geständnis.
You've got her confession.
A gift? I've got an original document here, signed by you. Says it was blackmail.
You've got no such thing, little brat. You know, I think the board was right to expel you. Good day.
Das war doch richtig.
Of course she knew you were bluffing. She's the one who destroyed that document.
Ach so. Ach Mist, okay. Dann hätte ich sagen müssen, ich habe das Kopie. Das Kopie, Alter, die Kopie.
And she...
Ja, ja, auf keinen
You don't
Fall.
want to get her mad.
We'll kill you.
Franklin, how... I'm sorry.
Also, ich mache das hier im Schnellverfahren. Ich weiß, wie sie in die Sporthalle... Ich weiß, woher die Sporthalle... Das ist eine falsche Übersetzung. Das macht es dann natürlich nicht leichter. Aber... Ich habe gehört, dass ich habe eine Fotokopie.
You've got a copy of her confession.
Nah, that Jim was no gift. I've got a copy of a paper here that says it was blackmail.
What do you want from me?
Ah. Ich will das Schuljahr abschließen, wir sollten uns treffen. Wir sollten uns treffen. Ich will ihr Geständnis hören. Wir sollten uns treffen. Also, das nicht, aber entweder sage ich, wir sollten uns treffen, oder ich sag, ich will ihr Geständnis hören.
Tell her you want to hear her admit it.
I just want to hear it from your own lips, that you're the one who did it.
Then I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed.
Ah, schade, okay.
Now, I'm quite busy, as you can imagine, so I'm afraid I must cut our little conversation short. Take care, Franklin.
I think we pushed her too hard.
Ah, Mann, alles klar, also nochmal.
I feel kind of funny about this.
You don't...
Na gut,
Franklin,
so geht's natürlich auch, weißt du.
I'm sorry.
Dann treffe ich mich doch mit ihr.
Say...
Yeah.
Was soll ich sonst machen, ne?
Tell her...
So. Fotokopie war richtig.
What do you want?
So.
Tell her you want to meet.
Let's meet and, like, talk things over.
Where?
Ah. Im Kraftraum. Ihr Büro. Im Kraftraum ist cool. Dann müsste sie ihren Code eingeben und dann hätten wir einen Beweis, dass sie den eingegeben hat. Und dann hätten wir auch den Beweis, dass sie der Mörder ist.
The workout room. Midnight.
The workout room. Midnight tonight.
You do have a flair for the theatrical, don't you? All right. Merely out of curiosity, you understand. I'm not admitting to anything.
Perfekt. Ta-ta-ta-ta! Das war gut. Jetzt gibt sie nämlich den Code ein. 01.
Mrs. Boersma.
What? What are you doing? How dare
You're
you?
under arrest for the murder of Tag Vanderhook.
You have no case against me.
Maybe not at the moment, but we will as soon as we pull the codes from this keypad lock. I'll lay you 7-1. The code you entered just now matches the one used on the day of the murder.
Listen, gentlemen, perhaps we can come to an arrangement. It isn't myself I'm thinking of. It's New Amsterdam Prep. A scandal would be very bad right now.
You should have thought of that before you launched your little extortion scheme.
I didn't set out to kill the boy, but he forced my hand. And anyway, he deserved it. He was a bully and a rapist and an extortionist to boot. Ending his vicious little life was a service to humanity.
Interesting defense. We'll see if the jury buys it.
Ich glaube nicht so ganz, ey.
Judge in the Boersma trial just passed sentence. 20 to life.
Like the man said, a good example is the best sermon.
Let's hope all his students were paying attention.
Verdict is in on the paternity test, too. Turns out Harrison was the
Gott sei
father.
Dank, ja.
Happy endings all around at the Bedford house.
I don't know about that. We still don't have a lead on Harrison's killer. I kept hoping some new evidence would turn up at this trial, but no luck.
Maybe Tag did it after all.
If he did, he could have left us some proof before getting himself killed. I'd hate to go to my grave not knowing.
There's a lot we'll never know. Don't let it spoil your sleep.
Ja, prima. Ja, passt eigentlich von, ne, also, ja, ich bin auf alle Fälle auch gespannt. Das wird sich dann ja mit Harrisons Mörder wird sich dann ja wahrscheinlich jetzt dann in der nächsten Episode zeigen, denke ich. Also jedenfalls gehe ich mal davon aus, dass das so ist. Und ja, das sehen wir dann nächste Woche. Ich bin auf alle Fälle gespannt, auch wie der nächste Fall dann sein wird. Und ja, jetzt danke ich sehr fürs Zuschauen, dabei sein und begleiten. Sag bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao!